Thanks very much for joining us. My name is Ellis. I'm the Managing Director of Visionaid International. I'm joined by my colleague, Kate.
Hello.
Kate's our Business Development Manager. So Visionaid International, very quick bit about us. We were established back in 2006, and we're really passionate about creating the best possible text-to-speech and magnification solutions for blind and partially sighted people. What we're going to be running through today in this presentation is the updates to our Readit software and some of the exciting new Readit cameras that we've got as well. Much higher resolution, really accurate, even down to small text. So I'm going to try and hopefully be able to show that to you over Zoom as well. Plus going through, yes, the new features on there. We'll also show the Readit Air, the current product, and then the Scholar HD, which is our distance viewing and live viewing camera as well, which is really powerful and benefits from all the updates from the new software, the Readit software as well. So the Readit software is a single piece of software that works on all of the camera units. So all the features are where the camera supports it are exactly the same. So we'll run through that a little bit as well. I'm not sure how familiar any of you might be with Readit, so I'll give a bit of an overview of it as well when we get going, and then sort of go through the camera solutions as well. If I just switch camera for a second and just sort of show you the cameras as well. So what we've got down here, so this is our existing Readit Air camera. So it's a 5 megapixel camera that only weighs 500 grams or about a pound, and it unfolds, built-in LED lighting. All the cameras have that, and allows you to place an A4 or a letter-sized document underneath it, and it will then capture it together with the Readit software and allow you to instantly convert any document with printed text into speech. It also has a positioning guide that comes with it. So for users with very little vision or no vision at all, you can accurately align your document purely by touch. So all the products are designed for no vision users as well as low vision. Obviously, some of the features of the software may only be of benefit to users if you have some remaining vision to be able to use. I'll just pop that in there. And then that gets upgraded to the new ZEN camera, which goes from 5 megapixels up to 18. So it's a huge jump, which will allow us to do some quite good things in terms of the size of text that it can read. So I'm going to show that to you in a little bit. All the units come with right angle cables. So when you finish with them, you can just wrap the cable around it, and there's no danger of that. You don't have to unplug it and plug it back in. There's no danger of the port getting damaged. So it makes it very quick to pack up and transport as well. And it comes with an extension cable. So you get both a right angle cable with an extension cable if you need to run it down to a desktop computer as well. So all of the units come with that. Then the actual weight of this unit, it's a couple of 100 grams heavier. It's 700 grams instead of 500, so a little bit more, but it's still very nice and light and very easy to pop in your bag. Hardly notice it's there if you have a laptop that you need to carry along with it as well. Just unfold the cable back there. This one unhinges in the same way. We've got built-in LED lighting on there as well, but this camera has been optimized more for working without any additional lighting, just the ambient lighting that's in the room, because the number one problem you get with any camera system like this in terms of the accuracy is caused by reflections from light shining off the document that you're trying to read. It's normally absolutely fine for flat sheets of paper, but if you've got something glossy or curved, then that's where the light can bounce back up into the camera. So these have all been optimized, the new units now, to work without having the LED lights on, as long as you're using it in a normally lit room. Obviously, if it's pitch black and there's no light in the room you're in, then unfortunately it won't work. But then you can turn the lights on. It may just cause a problem if you've got something really glossy underneath it. And the light switch has a rocker switch, so just off to the left and on to the right. There's a nice positive click. And that's it. Effectively, there's nothing more to it than that. This unit also has a positioning guide, so a very lightweight guide that allows you to slot it in there, and then you get an accurate positioning area for an A4 page. So I'll run through that in a second once we connect it in. I'm just going to connect it into my computer on here now. I've got the USB extension cable on the desk. Then what I'm going to do is switch over to the Readit software and share my computer screen on there. So hopefully everything will come across on there easily and nice and clearly for you. I'll share my entire screen on there because I'll put some other bits on there as well in a little bit. So, Kate, if you could let me know, hopefully that's now sharing the screen with nothing on it.
That's perfect.
It's coming across. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the first thing I've got on here is a really small printed receipt. If I zoom out on the view on here to give you an idea, and then if I put my mobile phone next to it on here, this has got a really large screen on my mobile phone to give you an idea of the size of the print on here. If I hold it up to the camera a bit more as well, you can get an idea of it's really poor quality print. So it's almost sort of like a dot matrix print from a receipt from just a few days ago from the microphone that I'm talking to you on now. So if I push it, with the Readit software running, it's just an absolutely standard Windows application that then comes with voices as well. So we support over 30 languages for both the recognition and then the speech back to you. And I've got a couple of multi-language documents as well to show you a little bit later. This is just an English receipt. So all I have to do on here is push the Enter key on the keyboard and it will capture it and then recognize it. So if I do that now.
Capturing.
Scanned egg.
So that's now recognized it. Is it too loud on your side, Kate? Or
www.scan.co.uk.
It is quite loud.
Okay, so what I can do, you can independently adjust the volume of
speech.
So I've got the Zoom taskbar is going over the top of this now. I'm trying to minimize it out of the way, but it's, oh, there we go, I'll put it to the bottom. So within here, we can adjust speech. We have dedicated volume controls, and the Readit software is fully self-voicing. So I can use the Alt key to access the menu, and then the arrow keys.
Stop all speech.
Will allow
Control.
I'll just come quickly down to volume.
Supports volume. Quieter. Control plus Shift plus.
So it allows you to adjust the volume quieter and louder, and it gives you the shortcut keys as well. So if I press Enter on that, and it's Control Shift minus, so I'll do it afterwards myself.
Quieter. 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 Quieter.
Is that about right, Kate, do you think?
www.scan.co.uk.
That's much better.
Okay, good, thank you. So with this, now obviously if you have a screen reader, you may be using NVDA or JAWS or Supernova or Windows Narrator, you can actually go into Readit, and if you prefer to have your screen reader reading the menus out to you, then that's absolutely fine. So yes, it will work absolutely fine with different screen reader software on there is what I was getting to, and you can configure it to work how you want to. But the actual main body of the text has to be read by Readit itself. Once you've captured the document like this, for the low vision user, I'll describe the visualization side. So you have the numbers 1 to 6 on the keypad on the number strip, and that will give you the 6 different enhanced views of your document. So number 1, so I need to be focused on Readit, is the original image. And as we zoom in on this, I'm using the Control plus and Control minus keys to do that, or you can use the Control and mouse wheel. So it's exactly the same controls as you would get on a standard application. So wherever possible, if you're used to using Readit, used to using any Windows application, the controls for Readit will be exactly the same if there are controls that make sense for that. So the zoom is Control plus and minus. You can see on here, the clarity of the text still stays really, really good, even at the high magnifications, but it will start to break up when you zoom right in. But this is a very, very tiny text and very poor quality text on there. So once you've zoomed in, if you want to see an improved view of that, you can just push number 2.
Overlay.
And instantly, that's now replaced this with a different font as well, because in my settings, I've chosen a sans serif font, which is then clearer to see. You can preserve the original font if you prefer. It does mean the spacing is a little bit different on here, but it's even easier normally for people to be able to read on here. And it's done a really good job, even on this very, very difficult receipt on here. So if I put it back to the image view, so you can see again, the text is all broken up from the image, and yet it's still managed to have a very good job. It's got a mistake there, an F instead of a W, but that's where the instant ability to jump back to the image view can really, really be helpful. You can see why potentially it would have made a mistake there. That's a very difficult character for it to have seen, even for a human just to look at on its own. It's a bit odd looking. So it really, really
Overlay.
nice. What we can still do with that is
Image.
enhance the colors. So if I push C,
Enhanced grayscale.
like on a standard video magnifier, you can still put that into your chosen 2-color combination. And then we can tweak that further as well with the plus and minus keys for very faint print, which some of this is, to try and bring it out so it's nice and clear. Obviously, unfortunately for users with no vision, that's when it gets difficult for things like this, because there's no way of obviously improving what's been recognized on it. But it does do a very, very good job, and this is quite an extreme kind of test for it. I'll push C again.
Binary.
A different mode, and then C again goes back into color. So it just cycles through. The next mode we have then is column view. So this reformats the whole page into a single column and then word wraps it left to right. So as we adjust the zoom, it automatically fits it across the width of your screen, which is really, really nice, and makes it reading much, much easier if you have some vision. Normally on a video magnifier system, you have to move the page left and right and scroll it around. But with this, you can photograph the whole document, reformat it to the correct width for you. And then I'm just using the mouse wheel here to scroll down. I can also click the mouse wheel down, and then you can have continuous scrolling. So this is an excellent feature on Readit as well. And part of the new software that has just been released is that this is fully accelerated by the graphics card on your computer. It doesn't need a fast graphics card to do that either. But what it means is you can actually scroll it perfectly smoothly at up to, well, over 300 frames per second. If you have a special high refresh rate monitor, some of them they're now becoming more and more widespread. So you can get monitors that update twice as fast as normal ones at 120 hertz or 240 and even 360 hertz. Basically means when you're scrolling text, it will stay perfectly clear and very smooth with no stuttering on it. So for users that prefer to read with their eyes rather than having using the speech, or they may want to read a bit with just the scrolling, and if their eyes get tired, turn the speech back on, you can do that very, very well on the Readit software. It's the only software that supports that high refresh rate as far as I'm aware at the moment. So that's the column view. Then we can go with number 4, horizontal view. So exactly the same, but you've got a ticker tape view across the side. I'm sorry if the scrolling doesn't come across on Zoom very well on there. Obviously it's a video thing on here, so it doesn't give the proper impression of it, unfortunately. But I think it should come across okay. So that's horizontal view. So for some users, if they have perhaps nystagmus, so a condition where their eyes move sort of uncontrollably, and it's difficult for them to stay focused on a particular word, then that's where the single line view can be really, really helpful. Also users who are very sensitive to the amount of light, because you've only got one line of text that you're looking at with less bright light coming in from that. So you can change the colors of the text and the backgrounds to whatever you like as well to help with that, but it can help for those sorts of conditions. Then we have vertical view. So this is exactly the same, but one word per line centered in the middle of the screen. This view can be actually very useful for users with tunnel vision. So if you've got somebody who only has central vision remaining, then this way of reading may actually allow them to read with their eyes much, much more quickly. Everything that's printed normally is printed left to right. So you sort of have to just try this mode to see if it actually does help or not. Then the final view, number 6, is word. So one word at a time on the screen, and you can then update that and adjust the size, and then skip forwards one word at a time.
Thank you for shopping.
If you need larger text, or maybe you've got a younger user learning to read, or perhaps you're studying a language or something and just want to stay focused on a particular word that you're learning. On any of these modes, if I just go back to the column view with number 3, you can just click on a word and it will start reading to you from that word. So if I click on invoice on here.
Invoice number 00E for 1,905,550 DPD invoice
And
date.
if I just left click, it will just pause it. So very, very quick and easy to start it reading with a mouse cursor. Unfortunately on Zoom, I don't believe the large cursor comes across correctly either. I've set Readit now just uses the standard Windows cursors, because on Windows 10 and Windows 11, you can now effectively set your mouse cursor to as large a size as you want and whatever color you want. Zoom, I think that when we tested it, sadly just shows you the absolutely standard tiny Windows cursor on there. But there used to be a dedicated cursor on Readit, but it's not really necessary anymore, thanks to Windows building that accessibility feature in. So that's a nice thing, but it just doesn't come across on Zoom, sadly. So that's kind of a basic run through of what Readit will do on here. Well, there is one more thing I wanted to show, which is screen by screen reading. It's actually better demonstrated with a book. So what I'm going to do is, I've got a book here, quite a thick book. If I switch back to the camera mode on here, you can see it's quite a few pages on here. So the depth of field in the Readit, all the Readit product actually is very good, and the Zen is no exception. So it will cope with very, very thick objects on there. All I do is push the enter key and it will capture another page.
Capturing.
And Readit has motion detection. So anything that's moving under the camera will stop it from taking a picture. So you've got plenty of time to position your page.
Recognizing.
It has been a quiet
It's almost
existence.
too quick for me. So it's captured the page. When I stopped moving it and held it still, it's recognized both pages at once, and then it's presenting them to us at exactly the same size and viewing mode that we last used on it. So very, very fast, very accurate for that. If I go back to the image view with number one and then zoom out a bit, hopefully you'll be able to see at the top there. For users with some sight, it shows you sort of the level of straightening that's done on each page of the document as well. So it's very, very powerful. And the nice thing with, has always been with the Readit software, you don't have to break the spines of books or magazines or things that aren't flat to be able to accurately read them. As long as they are under the camera and the camera can see the text, it will pretty much do all the straightening it needs to for you. Obviously, there are limits on it, but it's very, very powerful. So once that's been captured, what I just wanted to show you quickly on there, if I go back to column view, some users prefer to read by what's called screen by screen reading mode. So instead of having the text constantly moving, they may want to read the text that's on the screen, and then you can use the full stop and comma controls, or greater than and less than sign, to go forwards and backwards one screen of text. So we can read along here, many summers have passed, and if I push next screen of text, we've got a line of text under here which is not fully visible, and that will then become the first line at the top. So you can just read across, get to the end of the line, gentle rhythms from one day into the next. So again, it's just about giving people the choice of how they want to read and the way of reading that works best for them. Along with that, and I'm not going to go through it because Readit has so many features in it for customizing things. You can adjust things like the word spacing, the character spacing, paragraph spacing. There's a huge amount of sort of tweaking you can do to get it set up exactly for how you want to read and what's clearest for you to be able to read the words on there as well. So it's really nice from that. And once it's set up, it remembers all the settings for every document that you then capture. So that's all of the main visualizations on it, and a very sort of quick overview of what the main thing Readit is really used for, capturing anything that's printed, and it will then read it out loud to you. Sadly, it can't do anything that's handwritten, but you can still magnify and enhance the colors of a handwritten document. I can sort of just show, if I go back to the receipt on there again, because that's really poor quality print.
Camera.
We can put it into
Enhance
two color,
grayscale.
and then I can try and pull this out a little bit more because it is so faint on there. So this is actually live. So if I move the document around under the camera, it's moving it on the screen. So you can see it on there. If I put a normal document underneath it, like the book, you'll see what it's like normally. It's absolutely, oh, just need to adjust it slightly on there. Left it where it was. Normal text is absolutely fine on there. And you can use it in what's called a virtual XY mode. So I can just drag around the book on here without physically having to move the page. So if you've got a low vision user that just needs to look at something quickly on the page, instead of like with the video magnifier, you having to put the page under the camera and move the page around, I can literally just move it around just by clicking and dragging on the area within the Readit view. If you've got a touch screen, you can just push your finger on the screen and drag around now, which is what I'm doing on here. I've got a standard computer touch screen, and I can pinch to zoom as well, which I'm doing on the screen now, and then pinch to zoom to go back up and pan around. And you can also press on a word to start it reading from there. So it fully supports touch screens as well if you've got a touchscreen laptop, or you may have a touchscreen on your computer system as well.
Color.
So what else is new? So we've done the hardware acceleration. The other thing that's really exciting on Readit that we've done is what's called crop to document. So if I change this document, we've used that one enough, bring something that's a bit tricky, again, like a small packet of ibuprofen I've got here. If just to show the depth of field on the camera as well, if I stand the packet upright to get the edge on here, if I zoom all the way out, you see obviously it's capturing the whole area, which is bigger than A4. If I take the picture, it will try and intelligently see what it thinks is the document or the area of interest that you might want to read. I can even leave my hand under there. So if I push enter, oh, sorry, I was on the wrong window there. Push enter.
Capturing.
It'll snap the picture.
Sainsbury's.
And it's done it straight away. So if I just go back to image view.
Image.
So that now it's cropped everything around. It's left my hand in because it thought that might be interesting. There might be text close to it. And then if I push number 2 to go to overlay, you can see it's recognized the package, all the text on there, including the 16x16 in the corner from that. And it is instant. So this cropping feature also actually makes the recognition faster as well as being more accurate. So we're really pleased that we've managed to build this in as one of the extra things that we've done. And again, there's even more extreme tests you can do. If I put it back to camera view, if I tilt it even higher up, we've got the batch number and the expiry date. And unfortunately on this is probably the least accessible expiry date I've ever seen on something. It is literally, there's no print on it. It's just sort of depressed. It's like a stamp, but a compression stamp into the cardboard. But if I try and capture this,
capturing,
and the edge of the box is a bit damaged as well.
Comma number.
It's had a good go at the text with it actually printed. And then the expiry date, I can just about make something out on here, but we can still try and enhance that.
Enhance the grayscale.
Into our 2 color to try and bring it out. So unfortunately, there's nothing really, I don't think, that would be able to read this out loud because the 11th, it's quite old, these ones, 2017 is the expiry date from them. I can just make out there, but it's just sort of goes to show you can try and you can have a good go at things that it can't be read, providing you've got some vision to help with that. So small objects and the auto cropping is an excellent feature that really helps to improve the speed and the accuracy. So what else is new on there? We've got the ability to directly take a screenshot and send that to Readit to recognize it. So some screen readers have had that feature for a while, but it's been a requested feature for Readit users as well. So when would you use that though? Why would you need to take a picture of your screen and then recognize the text that's on it? The main reason tends to be for web pages that are not fully accessible, or there might be a picture within a web page that isn't accessible. So I'm on an Amazon page here, and we can have a look. This is a Eurovision page, and we've got a picture of a book cover, and the text on here isn't actually text. It's just a pure picture of the front cover of the book. So how could we read it? A nice thing with Readit is if you've got Readit running, you can use control and print screen, and it will then instantly send whatever is on your active screen to Readit. It will OCR it and then display it to you, and you get all those 6 different visualizations and ways of reading it from there. So if I press control and print screen,
recognizing.
Now telling us it's recognizing.
Eurovision, a history of moda.
I'll just put it back into color.
Binary, color.
And then if I go onto overlay view, we can see
Affiche foran Eurovision fan.
It will read it out loud. What I may have done on this is set some different languages up, and it seems to have recognized that whether there's some text on here that is in a different language, it may have slightly confused it. Let me just check my options.
Tools.
Been having a play around
Options.
With it.
Recognition.
So I've got English, German, and French turned on.
As thorough a history of the contest as anyone could desire.
Yeah, so it's reading the text from there. Obviously, this is a very low resolution picture of it, and Readit is trying to find text absolutely everywhere within the picture. So it may get some additional characters on images.
Image.
There's a strange word with that sort of doesn't make sense. It's the Eurovision Song Contest logo. It's trying to match some of the characters up, but it's obviously it's sort of a handwritten calligraphy type font, which nothing sadly can sort of accurately read really at the moment. But the main parts of the text on the cover, it's got absolutely fine. So that's a useful thing from there. And then together with that, we've added the ability to print directly to Readit. So if you've got a program that might have a long document or something that on an older program that you might not be able to, that a screen reader might not be able to access properly, then you can print a document directly to Readit as well. And it will just import it and then recognize it and open it up straight away. So that it also can save time if you've, for example, got a document in an Adobe, a PDF file that you might have opened and then realized you can't read it. You can then just do File and Print, and Readit now has its own printer driver, and you can print that document directly into Readit, where it will recognize it and display it to you in exactly the same way as this. I won't show that one on here because I'm just wary of the time on there. We're being about halfway through already, but it works very, very well. The other things, just from a usability point of view as well, we've done is we've added the ability to drag and drop things into Readit. So I can, on here, for example, I have an image here. If I just open this up, this is just a picture I've grabbed off the internet. If you had a document or something, or a picture that you want to copy to the clipboard, clipboard copy is there. So anything that's in the clipboard, you can then paste directly into Readit, or you can drag and drop files into Readit as well.
Import complete.
So I've done that image, and it was now OCR'd it,
Overlay.
and allows us to read it all out loud as well.
Ensure high contrast for text over images.
Okay, so those features are really for business and education users who really want an improved workflow, and just making things easier to access and faster to access if they're not fully accessible. So they've been really highly requested features, and we're pleased to be able to implement those. This version of software will be released next month with all these features in. So it's not quite available yet. We're just going through testing, but hopefully it won't throw any wobblies during the rest of this presentation. It's as is always the way when you demonstrate these things. So what else has changed? We've also dramatically improved the PDF export on Readit. So before, it used to, if you had a document that you wanted to access that was inaccessible, and then you wanted to save it as an accessible format PDF, it would do it, but it would have to re-recognize the document. But now what we can do when we do export, so if I go into the menu, so highlight on here.
File, new, quick export. Quick export options.
So the most popular way of exporting is with the quick export on Readit. So we can go in here.
Quick export options.
And I'll
Destination folder.
Very quickly what you can do with it. So you can choose all the standard formats to export to.
File format.
From
portable document format.
PDF, RTF or rich text format, plain text, Word document, a JPEG image, or an audio MP3 file. Obviously, you're not going to go through exporting all of those, but they just enable you to convert any document into any format that you might want. But the PDF one on here.
Portable document format.
Now, when exact layout is preserved, it now uses the Readit export format for PDFs rather than having to re-recognize it all, which took a bit of time. So this, every page I've captured so far on this will now export and then open up in a PDF. So if I push OK on here and then actually tell it to export, which is the shortcut key Control Q.
Exporting.
It will now export that.
Export complete.
And has opened up the PDF almost instantly. And it's got every single document that I've captured within it with all the text visible, including the screenshots and the last image that I've got down the bottom as well. So very, very powerful way of converting fully accessible documents into fully accessible PDFs. So this is just the standard PDF document, which you can then, all this text is fully accessible and would be readable via a screen reader as well if you need to work with it in that way. So I'll just close that down. So that's the PDF export. What else is new on Readit? So if I just stop my screen sharing for a minute and back to our camera on here, we have the new Readit keypad, which has been used on our standalone reading machines, the Evolve and the new Evolve Max and Evolve Eco that we're showing in the presentation again later on today. But this keypad is really powerful. And you say, well, why would a user want a standalone Bluetooth wireless keypad for Readit when they've just got a keyboard on there? The key reason and the key advantage people tend to find with this keypad is that it allows them to control the reading of their document within the Readit software whilst maintaining focus in a different application. So they might be having to grab text from a document and put it into a different location, or they might be reading something whilst doing something else. And basically this keypad means you don't have to Alt-Tab backwards and forwards between Readit application and which other application you're in. So it's really powerful from that perspective, and a great time saver for people who need to process and read a lot of documents for work, or if you're studying and you're writing a dissertation or doing homework. So for students as well, it's a really nice tool. It also means you don't have any need to learn shortcut keys, because the main majority of the controls are all from each tactile button, and each button is individually shaped and sized with tactile pips on them as well. I'm not going to go through every button on here because there's a few, but there is also a magnetic simplifier. So that just magnetizes on top of the unit. And for blind users, the simplifier covers up the magnification controls, so zooming, color changing, camera modes, visualization modes, etc., which a blind user wouldn't have need for. And it also covers up the bookmark key, which just to try and simplify it to as fewer buttons as possible. So bookmarks is one of the Readit features that you can go in, and if you've got a really long document, you can just add a bookmark into a position anywhere in your document, and then you can go back to that bookmark. So it could be a chapter heading, or it could be a particular point of interest in a book you're studying, or a figure that's really important in a financial report that you're looking at, and then you'll be able to jump straight back to it and all the other bookmarks you've done just by going to the bookmark manager from there. What else does it add? The keypad, it's got a really nice dial on top, which allows you to navigate a bit like a fast forward and rewind dial was on a tape recorder. So every time you rotate it to the right, it will read one word at a time. And to the left, it goes backwards one word at a time. So really simple to use, and makes just navigating around easier for users. If I just quickly sort of show exactly what I mean by that. So if I share my screen again on here. So I may have Readit to one side of the screen, and then I might have Microsoft Word on the other side of the screen. And if I start a new document, so I may have Readit on here. I'll put it into formatted view. So if I wanted to copy some of this text, it wouldn't actually necessarily be for copying, because if you need to create a synopsis or shorten the text down, because on Readit you can just command click or right click, and you can copy the text directly to the clipboard, either the sentence, the paragraph, the page, or the entire document directly from it. So copying and pasting that way is really, really easy. But just to show what I mean in terms of the control on from the keypad, so I can start it reading with the play pause
button.
button.
The logo should have a contrast ratio of at least 4.51.
I can pause it. I can go forwards and back with the sentence to navigate around. I can add new pages to it as well. So it's just nice. It just completely eliminates the Alt tab sort of continuous thing that people would have to do otherwise from that. Helps to sort of not break up the flow of their writing as they're listening to the text and typing it into their word processing program as well. It could be an email as well from that. Okay, so that's the keypad part. So that's an optional extra and just works with Readit. It's Bluetooth based, and it comes with a Bluetooth adapter. So if you have a laptop, every laptop in the last 10 years really has Bluetooth in it. It doesn't need a particularly high standard of Bluetooth, just Bluetooth 4. So most users would have that built in, but it does come with a very nice, neat, small USB Bluetooth dongle as well, just in case for a desktop computer, or if you don't have one yourself on there. So what else do we have on there that's new? Automatic updates. I won't sort of go into detail on that. That's really makes updating Readit much, much easier. So as Readit starts, it now checks for updates automatically, and if there's a new version, it'll automatically, it'll ask you if you'd like to download and install it, and then it goes off and does that in the background, and you can carry on using Readit while it downloads the new version as well. So again, a really nice way of updating the software rather than having to go to our website to download it and then install the update. Just makes it easier. The other thing that we've added, if I grab a bank statement on here, so I've got a printed sort of bank statement. It's not a real one, but it's to mimic one. And then if I share my screen again, I'll just push enter. I'll maximize the screen and push enter on here.
Part of a
capturing. Example
banks.
So on here, now we've added, this hasn't been completed fully yet. We've actually improved the table recognition even more on the Read Easy software, and that's got this feature first. But in Readit, we can now, with a visualization, see cell and table boundaries on here. So if I go, for example, into
horizontal
view and scroll through until I get to the table, a cell is defined with a dashed line across between each cell, so we can visualize where the cells are. And then when you get a very tightly grouped dashed line, that means you're going to a new row. This at the moment is purely a visual thing, but as we've done on the Read Easy software, as you navigate through the table, you then get row and headings automatically being announced to you, so you know exactly where you are in the table, even if you can't see it. So that's Readit's playing a bit of catch up on that, but that will get that feature very soon as well, which then for the first time makes tables much more accessible for blind users on there. So we're quite excited about that feature being added, and it's not far away. That's pretty much everything for new features on there. We are working on new features all the time, and we do listen to user feedback. One of the ones that's quite high up on the list is to add native Braille display support to Readit. At the moment, the easiest way around that is to set up quick export to export out to a text file. So I could do that now because it's instant. So I can go to quick export options.
Export option, layout retention, file format.
I can choose a text format, and now when I press Control Q, it will instantly output
export
this
complete
to a text file, and it is instant, which then you can read with your Braille display on there. Obviously, it's not ideal, but it's a workaround that we have at the moment. But we are quite a way through the sort of support process of adding multiple different Braille displays, well, effectively all of them, to it with the different standards that are available for that. So it is being worked on and will be coming for Readit as well. So those features. What I'll do now is jump to the, I'll stop sharing my screen again, and then I'm going to show you the ZEN MAX camera. So we have, I'll hold them up to the cameras here to start with. Now, physically, they're identical. So we've got the ZEN here and the ZEN MAX camera here, but the ZEN MAX camera has been set up to capture A3 size documents, or tabloid size for the US size. It's still with the 18 megapixels, so the accuracy is really good on it. It's obviously not quite as good as it is on the ZEN, but it is very good. I've just realized before I do that, I was just going to show you, to save me switching the cameras around, a really small text document to give you an idea of what can be possible with the ZEN camera. So we've got a Logitech presenter user manual here with some French, German and English on, and the text size on here probably is around 4 point in size. It is minuscule on there, and there's no other sort of system that would be able to have much of a go at reading this. So if I just switch back again, that's hopefully sharing my screen again on there. If I go to the camera view on here, so we can see it's very small text. If I zoom in and get a real idea, it's still actually very clear on with the ZEN camera. If I press the Enter key,
capturing,
and I hope I still have those languages turned on. I didn't turn them off in the settings.
Recognizing 50%.
Take a little bit longer to recognize something. Now, if I just go back to the image view, so we can see the clarity of the text on here is very good considering how small it is. You wouldn't ever normally get something printed this small in a business or education environment to expect a user to actually read it. So it's just nice to show that it can do this. So effectively, whatever text you get given, you should be able to read accurately with this. I put it onto overlay view.
Overlay.
There we go. It will have done a good job. I doubt it's going to get it 100% on here because the text is so small, but it's done a really good job looking at the English part on here. If I just read a bit of the English.
Do not immerse product in any liquid or.
So it's reading all of this correctly. And then I can move down over here to the, we've got some German on here.
Eingeschränkte Hardware-Garantie von Logitech. Oberblick Logitech garantiert.
And then we've got some French down the bottom on here.
Produit laser de DOS 1.
It's changing the reading language automatically as we're going through the different parts, different languages of the text. So it works really nicely from there. And just a bit of an extreme test is to show just how small text can be on the ZEN camera. We do actually have text down as small as 3 points, which we'll have a bit of a go at. But 4-point it does quite well at normally, and is well enough to understand the meaning of, and 5-point is absolutely fine. Most products before that, including our own, would only really go down to 6-point text, which is still very small. But there was the occasion where you would get text that is a bit smaller than that. So it's just nice. It's good to be able to read that now. So I will just switch over to the ZEN MAX camera.
Please plug in and turn on the camera.
And before I do that, there's one other bit I need to show you. So the ZEN MAX camera, it's exactly the same height. So the way that you raise it up higher to then allow it to view a bigger area is with the stand that will come with it. And this is a prototype one that we've done, but it's a very neat 120-gram stand that folds flat. It unfolds and then it locks into position. So it's a really strong stand. And the camera then just slots into the top of it like that. So it's in exactly the right place. And then you open the camera up, and then now it's now raised up to the correct height. So just plug that in. And Readit detects the camera automatically and switches. So now I can grab something bigger, like a newspaper page. So I've got a full tabloid newspaper page here. Just move some other bits out of the way. Too many documents and things underneath there. So we can position this on here. And again, this will be alignable by touch. So like we had the positioning guide on the ZEN, we have a positioning guide for the ZEN MAX as well to give you a top right position to align an A3 size document up into. All I do on this, again, is press enter. It will snap the picture, recognize, and then display all of the text to you and start reading. I've picked a difficult document on purpose on this, again, just to show that there are limitations on OCR solutions, and ours, it still isn't perfect. We'll have a good go, but big text, which is then interrupted by pictures and other things over the top, it will struggle with. The key thing is that the main part of the text, the actual body of the article, it gets very, very well and recognizes even columns that are very close together. It sees those as separate columns and doesn't read across the columns on there. I'm not sure I've actually shared the screen on here, have I? Is it shared? It's not telling me it is. Yes, sorry. My sound appears to have dropped out on
Graham, who was seen reeling.
So just very, very accurate, powerful for full A3 capture with the page straightening as well. So if you've got large format documents in books, we've got a big encyclopedia we use for testing here. I haven't got time to capture with that, I'm afraid, at the moment on this, but it goes to well over 10 centimeters thick, the books that you can capture with it, or documents. And even with
image
overlay view on here, we obviously got white text on a red background.
Overlay.
It does a really good job of getting the text on there. Flags that are to the left of the country names on here, it will struggle with and start seeing symbols and things on. But all the main countries it seems to be getting on here, it may miss a few, but it does a really good job on there. So that's the large format documents on the ZEN MAX unit. So exactly the same software, you just plug the camera in, it detects it automatically and will just work. It's just set to a higher height, as I said on there. So those cameras will be available in around it'll be about 10 weeks or so when both of those are available. They'll be available at the same time. We're still offering the Readit Air system, and what I want to just quickly show is kind of the upgrade in
Please
the
plug in and turn on the camera.
So I'm going to plug in our existing
camera,
and if I pop that really tiny text document back underneath it again, so you can see if I zoom in the live view straight away, the text is very blocky and difficult to read. So if I try and capture this,
capturing,
it may actually struggle to get any of the text because it's going to be it couldn't even see enough text to rotate it the right way around. So that's where the extra resolution of the ZEN and the ZEN MAX will really, really help. So they're the Readit ZEN and ZEN MAX cameras. And I've got 5 minutes or so. I just want to very quickly show the Scholar HD system as well. So that benefits from all the extra features that we've just shown to you as well. But I'm just going to show the extra features that it has. I just hold the unit up in front. So it's quite a different format of camera. It's a much larger camera, which has a huge optical zoom. It's actually 21 times optical zoom on the Scholar HD, and it is stabilized. It's one of the only low vision cameras that actually gives you optical image stabilization. So even in a classroom or business environment, if there's wobbling going on, or people moving around, or somebody's typing or writing on the desk, which can cause other camera systems to wobble, this one keeps the image locked really nicely, even at the maximum level of zoom. So to unfold it, you just lift up and it clicks, lift the other arm section upwards until it clicks, and then the camera is in the down position. I'm just going to pop this to the side and then plug in. I've got a USB hub on my monitor, so hopefully this will work with switching. I'll unplug the other camera first. Users wouldn't normally have both cameras, so fingers crossed. It should activate automatically, which it has, and then I'll just share my screen again. So hopefully you can see document underneath here. Now this is a 60 frames per second live viewing camera, so you can use it for practical tasks and writing underneath the camera as well, whereas the other ones are designed just as purely document cameras for capturing documents. You can use them to position your pen to write underneath, but the frame rate isn't high enough to be able to actually write with them. Just give an idea of the zoom on this, all optical, so I can magnetize a close-up lens on, and then I can zoom in on here all the way up to the 21 times zoom. You just take a second to refocus, and then we've got the enhanced color mode on here as well, but there's no blurring or ghosting, so users can read really, really quickly. And the hardware acceleration that we've added to this has really helped in this mode. It also means batteries on laptops last even longer as well, because it's not having to process the image as much as it was, so you get better battery life for your device and an even better image than you had before as well.
Color.
Exciting bit on the Readit is to show the distance viewing. So I'll just zoom back out a bit on here. So I'm going to take the close-up lens off. So it's just a magnetized ring that stores neatly in the camera. I can lift it up. You'll see me, and it's going to zoom right in on me because I obviously had it zoomed before. I'll zoom out again just to show you the room. So obviously, if you're looking at the teacher or what's going on in a business meeting, you've got 340 degrees of movement with the camera around. And then we can target something on the other side of the room over there. I've got one of our magnification guides, which has text all the way down to 5-point text on the top of that, which I can't read. I can't really make it out from the live view on there. I know what it says though, so that's cheating. But if I take a picture of this, it will now take a 16 million pixel image of that, all optically zoomed in, so it won't lose any quality. So if I take a picture with enter,
Capturing.
it'll snap the picture.
Magnification guide.
It's recognized the text, and it's had the best go it can, even reading the 5-point text, which is now just about readable for me, but an optical character recognition engine struggles with that, obviously, because it's blurred. And then when we go to the
image
10-point text, it's doing not a bad job. 12-point text, it's getting perfectly, and above from there, it's all absolutely fine. Now, if I just switch back to the camera on here, I'll switch on my live camera, and just to show you on here. So if I just spin this camera around on here to show just how far away it is a long, long way away. I can read the text at 2 times or 1.5 times just about from here. So what that means though is anything you'd expect a visually impaired user to be able to target in a classroom, as long as they can see enough to be able to target it, they will be able to capture and read it to you. This is just the Scholar HD setup here under the page, with a page underneath. While I've got the camera on that view there, this also has a positioning guide that magnetizes into A3 position over there. If you've got an A3 size document, so I've got 2 A4 sheets underneath, and then you pull this forward for the A4 guide to position a page for landscape for capturing as well. So if you've got a user that still needs to align the documents by touch, then you can do that as well. You don't have to accurately position them underneath it by looking on the screen. You can just do it by feeling where the corners of the edges are. The final thing on this is, if I just show the image stabilization, it's a little bit tricky on here. What I might be able to do actually, if I can show you both on here. Apologies for the mess on my desk on there. If I, hopefully you can see the Readit screen on my right. If I go back to the camera view, confusing myself now. If I wobble the table, if you can see the camera behind on here is moving. I'll move the unit over a bit as well. So I'm actually shaking the table quite hard on here. It's making things move. I've now moved off of there on the Scholar. 1 second. I'm just going to go to overview mode so I can see where I am. This is a nice feature on there. So you can go to O, press O, sorry, and it zooms out with a target site where you're going to zoom back into on the document. There we go. So now if I shake the table again on here, really wobble it, the image is hardly moving at all on the screen, despite the camera head moving a lot on there. So really, really powerful, and basically makes using a distance camera in a classroom or a business environment so much easier. They just don't really work very well at high zooms because of the magnification of the vibrations that come through if they're not stabilized. So it's a really, really good feature for the distance viewing part as well. You can obviously get a trial of the Readit software as well. So if you would like, or you'd like more information, then please do contact us on our email address, which is info@visionaid.com. And you can have a look on all the information on the products on our website, which is visionaid.com. Thank you very much, and hopefully look forward to seeing you all next year actually at SightCity in person again as well. Looking forward to getting back to being able to do that. So thank you for coming along, and hope you found it useful. Bye everyone.